No league in the world is perfect, but when things were starting to shape up for the A-League, what turned bad? Our crowd numbers are decreasing, and we brag about having the highest number of participants in Australian sport. But our league is a joke. Here are the problems with the Hyundai A-League and what needs to be done. With no salary cap, greater commercial independence, and the removal of the unpopular governing body, the Hyundai A-League is now independent and away from the FFA, but not completely. This is a huge step for the league, and I hope it doesn't backfire. Firstly, a huge point that I want to stress is, where's the active support? Or should I say, what happened to the active support? This is what brought fans to the games. But heavy-handed security has destroyed the passion, and football without passion is not the same. I'm from Melbourne, so I can give my perspective on the Melbourne behalf. But Victory as a club right now are trying to hide behind what they so call the North Terrace right now. It's definitely not the North Terrace. It's just a bunch of people who are currently sitting behind the goal. The North Terrace haven't gone to football games since 2016, but were battling with the FFA and the club itself 2 or so years before that. Also, the RBB haven't been the same since Wanderers have declined recently. And when it comes to flares, very controversial. Personally, I love flares, and I think it brings a certain excitement to the active support. However, if they're banned, they're banned. Instead of trying to fight it and approve it, find other ways to support your clubs. Banners, flags, drums, and so on. I'm not saying this is the only issue with active support and the governing bodies, because I know clubs were having problems with flags and banners with the FFA. Australia needs to understand that football is not the same as AFL, cricket, or even rugby. We are the biggest and most watched sport in the world for a reason, our fans. So as for the media and the authorities, stop trying to fit us all in a bubble of AFL and other sports. Let's fix active support and re-engage the fans. Okay, enough about active support. As a league, we're currently relying too much on Foxtel's money. TV money needs to stop being the measure of success. We need to find new ways of expanding that's not just TV. As for the new teams, we've seen the inclusion of Western United and Southwest Sydney. Let's face it, both those teams are not the most deserving to have that place in the A-League. Western United is in an unpopular area, and Southwest Sydney is literally the team no one wanted. And why Melbourne and Sydney again? We already have 2 teams each. Think both teams will struggle to survive, but I really hope they do. We saw a similar situation before. Remember Northern Fury and Gold Coast United? My next point is, and I mentioned this in a previous video, is the 2nd division in Australia. But in more detail, we must do this correctly. This can really lift our game to that next level. But in fairness, it's probably several years down the track and not anytime soon. But having teams fight for relegation and having something on the line brings me such excitement. But for now, let's build a strong foundation and correct ideas so that this doesn't fail. Another point is clubs need to have their own individual stadiums. We've seen fixture troubles with availability and rights. Why don't we encourage investment from Asia to take over and invest in our stadiums? Another important and key step is marquee signings. We need players like your Del Pieros, your David Villas, who can be used for marketing and attract fans to the stadiums. To be fair, they probably weren't the most effective players we've had in the A-League, but their name was enough to bring people and watch. And with the scrapping of the salary cap, hopefully this becomes a reality. So to wrap up, things that need to be done to improve the A-League are: number 1, build relationships and trust between active support and fans. Number 2, in terms of expansion, maybe we should have added some more teams. Why just 2? Let's take the risk. We risk everything else. Why not this? Number 3, 2nd division and a solid foundation. Number 4, marquee signings. Number 5, the A-League numbers aren't exactly amazing. So why not let kids in for free? And lastly, market and encourage overseas investment. However, the overarching success of the A-League much depends on the Socceroos, which again has been mentioned in another video. So if you haven't seen it, it's gonna pop up somewhere here. Overall, the A-League is being run with the idea of what can the game do for me rather than what can I do to the game by the people who wear suits and make the decisions. The A-League is declining, and we can admit that. Something needs to be done. Otherwise, it's not gonna die, but it's going to stay stagnant and it's never gonna progress. For the sake of football, everyone who watches it, everyone who plays it, let's do something. Let's take action. Let's change the reality. Oh, and please, let's get rid of the final series. This isn't AFL. If you like this video, thumbs up, subscribe, share, follow us on social media and share us on social media. This was Football Oasis, and we'll see you next week.